But there's a lot of, you must kill your father kind of a vibe in order to rise
and a lot
between them.
And a lot of tension. Like
a lot of sexual tension. It's like, why don't you just kiss?
Gotti's... All right.
I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that.
So, Dan, I've accused you of saying...
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, of saying that every episode we start is your favorite.
Yeah, this one is not my favorite.
This is my favorite.
This is your favorite.
Because there's nothing I love more, or let's just say I'm very intrigued by the concept of a rat and witness protection. Because whomst amongst us has not fantasized about just completely taking a different name, moving to the desert.
Yeah.
In my version, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Very
Maybe
inconspicuous.
I've gone blonde.
Oh, really?
I get to become maybe sort of a different ethnicity with my name.
What would your name? Well,
that's
what's
really
a
great.
name you would pick?
Well, my drag queen name is Beverly Pills.
Okay.
I don't know if that would fly.
Well, again, you're trying to fly under the radar, I think. That's going to...
For sure.
But
let me think about it.
I like Beverly as a name.
Beverly is so good.
That's such a...
Beverly Johnson.
I think that was a supermodel. But again...
I think so.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting closer.
Well, that leads me to my first question. What is a rat? I mean, look, if you've watched a mob movie, you probably know, but let's dive deeper into the topic.
Listen, Marty... I'm talking about Martin Scorsese here.
Oh, he's a close personal friend.
I call him Marty.
Yeah.
Marty closes The Departed with a very subtle
That's so good.
metaphor, right? A rat walking across in front of the Boston, Massachusetts State House, which it might escape you on first viewing what he's getting at there.
It's really subtle.
Right? Like, I don't get it, Marty. What's the connection to this movie we just watched so far?
By the way, that movie, I don't remember. Was I in college when it came out? But it was one of those things where I watched it and I saw that moment. And it was like, whoa, cinema.
Right. It's like the rats in the movie.
Oh.
But they're not real rats. They're Matt Damon.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So a rat is a Matt Damon.
Okay.
Is a Leo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Those are what a rat is.
A person who squeals. Does it always need to be in exchange for protection so they get out of trouble, or?
I think most of the time that we're talking about a mob rat here, it is a mobster who got caught and squealed. Not to mix animal metaphors here.
For sure.
Right? He ratted out his friends to save himself. The same way a rat flees a sinking ship off the rat lines, you even call that.
They're the first one out.
First one out.
And they're not, hey, how can I help
right.
some other animal on the ship?
Right. Matt Damon in Departed did not say, I feel guilty for my various crimes I've committed in this movie so far. I'm going to turn myself into the authorities now.
No, it's, please help me.
The point is, a rat is the lowest form of life. And it's funny, like, you're saying, and this is your favorite episode, I realize, like, as much as I hate the mob, there's something wrong with me where I resent the rats too.
Here's the thing. The reason that I love the concept of a rat is it's really seeped into popular culture, because who can't relate to the idea of, like, would you be a rat? Well, like, thinking about that, or who of my friends would be the rat? Are you the kind of person that would sell people out?
There's a fascinating moment in the first season of The Sopranos where one of the best episodes is where Tony Soprano goes to Maine on a college tour with his daughter.
Oh, I love that app.
Encounters a rat who is in witness protection.
Or a metaphorical rat.
Metaphorical, not the literal Boston type. He encounters a mafia rat and kills him. And HBO at the time, they talked about this later, was like, you can't do this. You can't have Tony kill this guy. It'll turn everyone off him. And David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos, said they will love Tony when he kills this guy, because nobody likes a rat.
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. And that's I think that's true.
Yeah. And you watch that, it's It's fucking awesome. He gets the guy,
Yeah, for sure.
So look, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. The ratdom. And also not just the ratness, the rattiness of being a rat.
We're going to talk about the Rat King.
That's so good. I mean,
that was
Rat
good.
King is a thing too.
That's why I'm here.
We're just cooking with gas today.
We are.
But
so who is the Rat King?
The Rat King is the biggest rat of them all. None other than Sammy the Bull Gravano, betrayer of John Gotti, right? Mm-hmm. Another Italian, Dante, said the innermost circle of hell are those who betray others. And Gravano would be right there next to Judas and
So
Brutus.
Even if everyone is doing all of these horrible things, there has to be some honor amongst thieves.
Nope.
Yeah.
None.
And I think that the rat betrays that concept.
It puts lie to the whole system. And as we're going to see today, like the other annoying thing about them is they're the ones who get to tell the story. And there's a lot of issues with that as we're going to
Of course, like they're always softening their culpability. I'm sure even though they're getting protection.
Yeah.
Why would you actually tell the truth? I mean, you could say whatever you wanted. You could say, this person I don't like actually did that.
And the biggest thing of all is like, they think that they're winning, right? By doing this, by saving themselves. As we're going to find out today, I'm not always certain that you're winning when you rat out, right? Because another literary figure, Hunter Thompson, said, if hell exists, it's going to be like Phoenix, which I love as a line.
Kind of sounds like Inferno.
Yeah. Put the rat from Departed walking behind us as we say this.
It's like a CGI rat.
Yeah, CGI rat. Ratatouille. Okay.
So where does our story begin?
Our story begins, as alluded to, in the Valley of the Sun. They call it this, apparently, in the suburbs of Phoenix, in the mid to late 90s, which is otherwise known as the high point of American civilization. It was shortly to go downhill completely after this.
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time.
I know. I am kind of obsessed with the nostalgia of the era, completely painting over the issues. But compared to what we're dealing with now, it was very quaint.
Go to a Panera Bread, get a Surge. Mm-hmm. Remember Surge? You could get one of those.
Yeah, this was before people started dying from... That's the caffeine drink.
It was cool, though. It was very green.
Yeah.
And, and then you'd go see maybe The Matrix at a multiplex.
Simpler times.
The malls were still...
Poppin'.
That was the place to be seen. And this is sort of the environment we're talking about here. Suburban Phoenix, Arizona. And a very funny international sort of trade has developed.
Okay.
First, there's the rise of raves and acid house music and all this shit. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know anything about, okay? In case you couldn't tell just by looking at me. But what I do know is it pops up in the clubs, mostly the gay clubs, mostly catering to gay men of color. It explodes in these rave capitals of America like San Francisco and Chicago.
Everyone's wearing big pants.
It's like all this cool shit. And then it moves over to Europe, right?
For sure.
Now the Europeans have gotten a hold on it. All these Spanish DJs or whatever on these islands are playing this music.
I really hope some ravers listen to this episode. They're going to love your description.
They are going to love the way I'm describing it. And they're not insular or obsessed with the past at all.
No,
okay?
No.
So it moves over to these like Spanish resorts and islands where all these Brits go to party, right? Mm-hmm. And at that time, a drug called MDMA, I think, was still legal. So they
interesting.
Yeah, they start taking this drug. Now, MDMA, like heroin, like amphetamines, was discovered in a lab by scientists working for pharmaceutical companies. And then later, there's
just a little trickle out.
It happens to, there are other applications people realize, MDMA in various forms known as ecstasy, known as Molly, right? It goes together with the music. In one account I read from the Phoenix New Times, like peanut butter and chocolate, Mm-hmm. So it works terrific together. And then it jumps back to America, right? Now, America's a little behind on this, but the guy who's going to bring it to sleepy suburban Arizona is a fascinating individual by the name of Sean Atwood, better known as English Sean. English Sean is often compared to Nosferatu the vampire.
Wow.
Which I think...
Really?
I'll explain why that is in a little bit. We're looking at a photo of him. This is him in his stockbroker era, which he also was.
I actually think, okay, so this is a picture of a white man with a receding hairline and a buzz cut in just like normal khakis and a loose-fitting 90s white shirt on the phone smiling. I think he looks like a very normal man.
Well, that's right. And that is a big part of English Sean's appeal and why he is the most unlikely of drug barons to emerge, right? Because what English Sean does that's very intelligent and clever is he has aunts in Arizona. He's from Northern England originally. He is familiar with the Northern English club scene, which was legendary in the 90s. If you've seen the movie 24-Hour Party People, that goes even...
I mean, I think the English club scene still is legendary.
And it's, he's at places like the Hacienda in Manchester, these very famous...
And then think about Phoenix. I mean, this guy is the hottest shit on the scene.
I mean, there's a wonderful Nat Geo documentary about the story we're about to tell here, where English Sean says, as soon as he starts talking in Arizona, people roll out the red carpet for him.
Oh my God.
In England, it doesn't fucking matter that you have an English accent. It's just... But Arizona, they've never seen anything like this.
Totally.
Right? And English Sean realized, now there is a rave scene in Arizona dating back to the early 90s, but MDMA needs to be professionalized. It's just being sold in dribs and drabs here and there. He sees a major opportunity here that no one there...
Because to be clear, there's not, I'm sure there are some Italians in Arizona, but the mob isn't currently there proliferating.
No, and this isn't a racket that they're historically associated with anyway. So he sees a common theme with the subjects of our episodes. He sees an open market that's waiting to be exploited. Not just exploited, but also a market to be made. This is something else we're going to see a lot with drug dealers, right? Drug dealers don't just meet a demand. They create demand too.
That's really interesting.
Fentanyl, right? There was a thought at some point in the Sinaloa cartel, as these painkiller opioids get harder and harder to acquire legally, we see a market there to illegally sell heroin and really more fentanyl to people who would not ordinarily be buying.
They're not just trend forecasters, they're creating the trend.
This is it. And this is a little bit what English Sean realizes. Like, I can put on these raves, make a lot of money just from the raves. I'm already rich from being a shady stockbroker, right? And I can move a lot of MDMA that the quality of which has never been seen here before.
Yes. I also think I remember very clearly in the 90s, the main drug, the fear-mongering around MDMA and ecstasy, I mean, we could argue about its danger and all that stuff, but this is the thing all the parents were afraid of. That's
it, right? Because the guys taking it at this point, and English Sean knows this, are like teenagers.
Exactly. It's infiltrating sort of white upper middle class areas.
A hugely important point, and this is who he's increasingly over time relying on actually for his business empire to work. He's making money hand over fist doing it, right? MDMA, it is also interesting in that the effects of it are like, they have what they call the cuddle puddles at part. It's like very like,
it's incredible.
It's okay. All right. If you say so.
I don't know from personal usage, but I've heard. My husband is a raver.
Okay. Say no more. But yeah, it's like this euphoria and all this. And like, it makes you dehydrated to the max. And like,
but you're like, you love everyone.
Right.
Okay?
You love everyone. This is it. Now, it should be added. Sean Atwood has the gift of gab. He is, and this is a theme that's going to be running through this, he has since then become a major influencer, crime writer, personality online, making documentaries and all this. And he always tells the story in a way that best puts him in the best light, right?
He's sort of the prototypical English guy that moves to the US, where sometimes you're like, is what you're saying actually charming or funny? Or is it just your accent?
I mean, this is Christopher Hitchens, right?
100%. I really wish it was the other way. We could move other places and suddenly.
I mean,
we're hot shit.
I fucking sound stupid just because the way I talk,
I know, it's unfortunate.
The point is, Sean Atwood always has this gift of gab, putting it in the best light possible. Well, look, he's going out of his fucking mind, addicted to GHB.
Oh.
He's involved with some very young girls. He's enlisting teenagers into his thing, threatening people with their lot being killed.
It's never just a wholesome ecstasy dealing operation. Why can't they just keep it simple?
It's not. And it's dark and it's grimy. And it's like he says, it's all peace and love and the raves. And like the Phoenix New Times, the alt weekly in Phoenix, is covering this extremely well at the time and after. It's kind of a fucked up, crazy scene, right?
Sure.
But English Sean, there's no denying he's a good drug dealer and a good capitalist.
Yes.
And he's doing a good job at this. Now, while he has his security crews at these raves, beating the shit out of any rival dealers who come in, tasing them, taking their shit and selling it themselves.
Sounds really familiar.
I mean, this is known to happen, you know. Something that does happen is he starts running into these very muscled, scary guys. And this is something English Sean talks about, but it is corroborated by other accounts, which is these bodybuilder types start showing up at the raves trying to sell.
Okay.
And trying to pressure Sean to move their shit.
Now, are these mobsters?
Well, this is the thing. They're all like 20-year-old muscleheads, like I said. They are alluding to, this is in the Nat Geo documentary and other accounts, they're alluding to connections back east. Okay.
Sure, bro.
Sure, bro, right? I mean, they're alluding to these mob connections, right? Which are a little odd to be coming from suburban Arizona, right? The problem is English Sean just isn't really as tough as these guys.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm not really scared of English Sean.
He's fucking, I mean, look, he is violent. He is more violent than he likes to portray himself as being. But, you know, one of his top dealers does get his teeth bashed in by these guys, right? There is this rivalry developing where these guys are pushing in. The fact that they're selling shittier MDMA doesn't really matter. English Sean, by the way, is also pushing meth, which he always leaves out of that account. But as it is, Atwood says he flees to Tucson to a gated community. He's actually still selling, but he does do that, at least in part because of these guys, also because he's spinning out of control on drugs. So who the fuck are these other guys?
Yeah, let me know.
What a cool name for a gang. The Devil Dogs.
It's almost too on the nose. I don't know.
Also, a Devil Dog is a Drake snack cake from New York.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds familiar.
You remember Devil Dogs?
Yes.
They're the shittiest of the Drake's snack cakes.
Like sort of a hostess kind of a?
Yes. So Drake's is the hostess of New York. New York State.
Got it.
Devil Dog is a very dry, it's not a great snack cake.
No. It's not a ho-ho.
What was the equivalent? Ring-dings are the equivalent for Drake. And that, mwah. But their original name was a little different. It was White Power. Before that, Hitler Youth. Look, before you judge.
I know they're called White Power, but they're not into that. That's just the name.
Literally what people said about them in the accounts I was reading. This is a interesting gang, okay? It is a gang composed of middle-class to upper-middle-class kids in Chandler, Arizona, wealthy suburb of Phoenix. They are steroid-addicted, bodybuilding high schoolers and college students who tell police they, on a weekly basis, get into not even fights, brutally assault people.
When I say like a group or a demographic of people that I actually feel are the scariest in our country, it's this.
And the worst part is they don't seem to be taken very seriously. They're called wannabe gangsters. The prosecutors, there's this absolutely disturbing savage attack on a young teenager who's not a criminal at all, not anything. He was just sitting in a Jeep. They beat him so badly, he basically didn't have a nose after.
And why? This is the thing. Why are they doing this? Is it white power stuff?
You know, some of the police dispute how racist they are, but that there are black members, et cetera. But it's more that they just like violence.
Yeah. Have you ever met a guy where it's like, they just have so much repressed rage, it almost doesn't matter? Like any excuse they have to let it out.
That's exactly right. But they're discounted a little bit. But, one of the brothers of one of the main assailants in the horrible Jeep assault I mentioned, right, who's not taken seriously is a guy named Mike Papa. And
Big Papa.
Big Papa. He is from the East Coast originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a smooth figure. He's at ASU, top party school in the country, where he is learning to be a gym teacher, which is so perfect.
It's so good.
He's kind of a smooth guy, and he seems to be kind of outwitting English Sean, right? So like
he's met his match.
He's met his match a little bit, you know? But the thing that he's dropping to English Sean and anyone who'll listen as he sends his goons out to all these raves is not just East Coast, not just implying he's with mobsters, but a name that is so ridiculously notorious and infamous. Iconic that the cops who are starting to pay attention to this think it's just a hilarious boast.
They're like, there's no way.
Like, this guy, he might as well say Al Capone. And that is, he's dropping the name of Sammy the Bull at these raves.
Now, who is that?
Let's go back a bit.
Let's go.
1990.
1990, baby. Okay. So just to be clear, we're going back in time, but we're also jumping around to a completely what seems unrelated, but is not. We will take that thread and we will,
It's going to come right back together.
It is.
1990. Let's go to the opposite of Arizona.
Okay. Which is, thank you,
the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
Yeah, let's get back to where we feel comfortable.
I'm like, I can exhale. Go. I'm not around these devil dogs.
I'm
around the right type of devil dog.
Exactly.
Little Italy, the Ravenite Social Club, headquarters of the Gambino crime family. Oh, I'm already feeling more relaxed.
I know.
Like I'm on more familiar turf, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's my people.
I never thought I'd be so happy to be around Italians in New York, but I am.
You are.
You know?
Well, it seems like, and this goes back to, I think, what's so compelling about mobsters, right? Is like, yes, they're violent, but they're doing it for a reason that seems somehow logical in your mind. It's for the family. It's for honor. It's for money.
It's like all the reasons that I find myself vaguely defensive of Catholicism, even though I really shouldn't and can't be. But just when ranged against Protestant evangelicals, where I'm like, I don't even fucking know what your deal is. These Catholic freaks, at least
they have pomp and circumstance and nice drag-looking outfits.
I know all their weird shit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That was quite a digression from what I was saying, which is Little Italy, Mulberry Street, Ravenite Social Club, headquarters of the Gambino crime family. The FBI goes in once again. Common enough occurrence. The Dapper Don, the Teflon Don himself, John Gotti, sitting there, all smug.
Who is the head of the Gambino family at this point?
Most famous mobster in the country.
And are they the most powerful mob family at this moment in New York?
Almost certainly, it's either them or the Genoveses are the biggest and most powerful. It's one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
They are certainly the most notorious because John Gotti, the leader of the Gambinos, who had taken that position in 1985 by killing his predecessor, John Gotti is the most famous mobster in the country because he has now twice beaten the feds prosecuting him at trial. Bear in mind, federal prosecutors usually win 99% of their cases, right?
Okay, so he's good.
He's good. He has a really good lawyer who's become famous off this, right? And so when he gets arrested a third time,
I got this,
right? I'm going to handle this again. And this time, as we're going to learn, it's different. Now, Gotti has set up a whole system in place with the expectation the FBI will come for him again. He'll go again. He'll win again.
Yeah, he already is anticipating that and probably creating a whole fake narrative of what the crime is.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to install a guy who has risen rapidly in the ranks as my underboss with the understanding he will be the boss when I go away.
At some point, I love the dynamic between the underboss and the boss. I mean, this is a driving narrative in The Sopranos. It's a driving narrative in real life.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of, you must kill your father kind of a vibe in order to rise
and a lot
between them.
And a lot of tension. Like
a lot of sexual tension. It's like, why don't you just kiss?
Gotti's... All right.
I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know if that would fix things.
It might make it worse.
Maybe it would make a worse problem, you know?
Okay, I'm just saying it's like they're fighting for power.
Listen,
there's respect.
It's very homoerotic.
There's very much like, I'm training you, but then eventually the underboss is always like, well, I actually think I know better and you gotta go. I mean, Gotti did that to this is what I love. Gotti did that to his forefather.
Mm-hmm. Shakespearean vibes.
It really is Shakespearean vibes. So here we go again.
Here we go again because he installs his underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano. And if we could take a look at this gentleman here. Sammy, this photo we're looking at, I think is kind of how he wants to be seen. What would you describe looking at this gentleman?
This is a blue-eyed man, beautiful blue eyes, blonde hair, slicked back. He's looking up at the camera devilishly with a big cigar in his hand and a pinky ring and a blue shirt that matches the eyes. I will say he doesn't look Italian to me.
He is sort of the Frank Sinatra school of Italian.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. It's not the typical mobster look that I think we've seen again and again, sort of like a Cray Brothers,
Gravano, in a surprise, is arrested along with Gotti that day by the FBI. They lock him up. And here's really the important thing with the feds, the FBI, all this. They, when they go to trial, okay, they're not doing what we're trying to do on this show, what the journalists reciting do, ideally, which is they're trying to get at the truth of the story that happened.
Okay.
They're trying to tell a narrative that will convince 12 people to convict this guy.
100%.
Right? And so having struck out twice now,
they really got to get it this time.
They're fucking taking no chances whatsoever, right? So the first thing that they do is they actually, the tapes that they have been secretly recording are sprung on them. What are the tapes?
The tapes. Release the tapes.
Release the tapes. They are tapes from the wires they have planted in the Ravenite Social Club, and they're fucking devastating.
I'm kind of surprised that Gotti, having beat them, isn't thinking that could be a possibility.
I mean, again, talking about appearances versus reality, John Gotti is without a doubt the single worst thing that ever happened to the U.S. Mafia. He destroyed it, right? By courting publicity in this manner, by behaving so aggressively and so stupid.
I mean, even I know we're going out to the middle of the woods to talk. Basic.
Or not talk at all.
Yeah.
Let's just not talk. Communicate with this weird telepathy that they have. But no, the tapes are devastating. Gotti knows it. They're him talking about murders. They're him complaining about...
Dan listens to them to go to sleep every night.
I do fall asleep to them.
Treatment, Dan.
Right. The point is, he's talking about murders. He's talking about killing his predecessor on him. They're really, really bad. It's the best evidence they've gotten so far. In addition, the tapes also contain him complaining about Sammy Gravano, his underboss, right? Which they are going to mention to Sammy Gravano in custody, right? Now, that's one thing that they have going for them. Another, though, is that they get Gotti's superstar lawyer disqualified.
Oh, God.
And I must side with Gotti here, I think on somewhat spurious grounds, right? They just didn't want this guy to win again.
I mean, he's pretty good at his job.
He's good at his job, They know that Gotti has paid off jurors in the past, intimidated witnesses, so they're not taking any chances there. They get the tapes admitted, and just to really, really, really make sure they get him, Sammy Gravano is flipped to become the star witness at trial. Now, this came as an enormous shock because in the years since, many, many people have flipped from the mob, told on them, ratted. They've even had actual bosses of the mafia families turn. But at the time, an underboss of one of the 5 families, no one that high had ever turned before. So he's
really a bull in that sense.
And this, I'm so glad you mentioned his nickname because this gets to the fact that it was a shock when perhaps it should not have been.
Right.
Let's start with his nickname. Now, in his telling, in the autobiography he had ghostwritten for him, after this whole thing unfurled. In the Diane Sawyer interview, which I recommend watching if you need to.
Another bedtime tale.
In his telling, it's like, yeah, I was Sammy the Bull because I had to get my bike back and I beat him up so badly. The old guy said, hey, yeah, that kid's a real bull. Like that, right?
Okay.
Whoa, that's so cool. You
Yeah.
know? Well, that's one explanation. Or is it what John Gotti Jr. said, which is Sammy was from Bull's Head, Staten Island.
That's just not as sexy,
Look, not that John Gotti Jr. is an uninterested person here, but I kind of believe him more here.
Yeah. He really is a bull in a china shop. He's really mixing it up. Even him becoming the king rat as the underboss is really whoa, you're charging ahead.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit.
But I almost feel like it's more like a stupid dog.
Yeah, Bull is giving him too much credit. It's the puppy shitting on the carpet.
Sammy, the nervous Labrador.
The
Gravano.
Labradoodle.
So he's Mr. Tough Guy on the street. Again, let's back up here. He's 5'5".
Okay.
That's almost a foot shorter than me.
That's my height.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's her height.
You're getting the...
Not my height. I'm going to emphasize again. I'm like a foot taller than him. You do the
Yeah.
math.
Dan's really tall. I don't think anyone knows that.
In case you didn't catch that.
Mm-hmm.
He has an anger issue. He's always going to be described in the press as a hitman because
interesting.
He admits to involvement in 19 homicides.
19? And that's what he admits to.
Well, this is the weird thing about it. I mean, I believe him that he was involved in 19, but here's the thing. So he always gets described as a hitman, an enforcer, all this. Not true. I want to say flat out, that is not true. This is a perfect example of what we're talking about, where the rat telling the story shapes the story.
This is like a common trope with men, too. It's like you ask a man how many guys he slept with, and he'll say double the number.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of giving that.
Well, and here's the other thing, right? So in the same way he took steroids to get bigger and appear tougher, because he also had, and I'm not fucking making this up, he was a licensed beautician. He went to beauty school as a hairdresser. Now,
why is he doing that if he's a mobster?
He did that before he got into the mob, I mean, that's the other thing. He's from a middle-class family, law-abiding. He doesn't have a lot of the excuses maybe some of these other guys have, right? The 19 murders that I'm describing, he was involved with them in devious ways. In ways where I think he was the trigger man in maybe one or two of them. The first one and maybe one later. But they're all devious ones. They're ones where he has the guy killed by other people in order to take over the rackets. Because his abiding thing is fucking greed. He's so goddamn fucking greedy. He wants everything for himself. He's big on construction. He has 15 construction companies. He's kicking up millions of dollars a year to Gotti. And Gotti even complains on the tapes.
What are Gotti's complaints about him?
Gotti's complaints are kind of valid, to be perfectly honest, that he feels like Gravano's constantly coming in with excuses to kill these guys when they're not really valid. But Gotti is also stupid and paranoid and obsessed with respect. And if he feels like so-and-so doesn't come to a meeting after being summoned, he'll consent to having them killed. It's
sort of like in Casino, Joe Pesci's character. It's like, you're getting a little bit too lit. Stop killing people. Be a little more under the radar.
That's what a smart mafia don would do. Use murder sparingly and only when you absolutely have to. And they do not do that. And they talk way too freely about it. And it leads to Gotti being convicted at trial. Gravano testifies against him. He's the star witness. He tells the tale, right? 19 homicides. One of the homicides is of his own brother-in-law, his wife's brother, Nick Shabetta, who he went to beauty school with. Truly,
he's out of control.
And I should add, the families of these victims are not happy that the feds gave this guy,
of course not,
a deal, right? But it gets the job done. Gotti goes away. Every charge sticks, as they say. And
oh boy,
Gravano serves 5 years for 19 homicides that he's admitted to.
That is insane.
I feel like 5 years could go by for me.
You would get more for being caught with some weed.
Well, keep that in mind because
we're coming back.
We're coming back.
Tying it back the thread.
Now, after he gets out of prison, it's time for witness protection program. We've all seen Goodfellas, Henry Hill saying, I don't want to go anywhere cold,
Mm-hmm.
Sammy goes into witness protection. He's given a new name, Jimmy Moran, which I think he could. I mean, again, I resent that he's been made Irish. We did not ask for him in the racial
like
draft.
We mentioned, it's working. It could work.
But the problem is he does sort of look like an Irish guy from New York. I hate to
for
say
sure.
That. He goes to Colorado first, but importantly, his family does not go with him into witness protection.
I think I was under the impression that the families went and started over with them, but that's not true, is it? Mostly,
if they consent to, right? But in this case, they did not. Now the feds are still going to be using Gravano. They want him as safe and happy as possible. So I'm sure they wanted his family to go with him.
Right.
And the family is a weak point where if the mob gets to them, they can maybe get to Sammy, right?
Exactly. That's what I would think. It would be dangerous for them not to go.
So that's why one of the rules is, well, if your family doesn't go, you can't have any contact with them. Right? So Sammy Gravano lasts 8 months in witness protection.
Wow.
And to your question, right, that's very common. These guys, you said at the beginning, right? Imagine a new name, a new life, all this stuff. Most people just cannot take the psychological.
No, they're addicted to the hustle.
Well, and that's the thing. And we're not talking about just regular people. We're talking about crooks, right?
It's a lifestyle for a reason, you know?
It's dismal. He drops out of witness protection. And that means you're on your own now. And so he's going to set up shop in a new place, a new life, and his family's going to be with him. And now we circle back. Return. Perfect. Stuck the landing.
Here we go. Act 3, baby.
We return to the Valley of the Sun. I don't know who named that in Arizona. It's fucking crazy.
That's what it's called?
This is a region. Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite type of character in these stories, we don't talk about him enough, a good journalist.
You do love that. Because that's you.
Well,
I love that too.
I love it. And I love when they make a difference and they do something good. And this is a great investigative reporter with the Arizona Republic named Dennis Wagner. Dennis Wagner gets a tip that he can scarcely believe. And it follows a column by a colleague, John McDonald at his paper, from June of 1998, saying that, quickly, I'm going to read, according to the myth I heard, Gravano recently purchased a home in Tempe, deciding he needs to blend in to become part of our suburbia. And he describes how this rumor that he heard is that Gravano's moved there. He's bought a big house.
And he's out of witness protection, correct?
Out of witness protection.
But you're laying low if you're in Arizona or you're trying.
Well, here's the interesting thing about Arizona. Arizona is not, like Colorado is basically no mob, right?
Right.
Arizona, not so.
Really?
The Joseph Bonanno, the head of the Bonanno crime family, retired to Arizona under somewhat cloudy circumstances. The Chicago outfit has long had a presence in Arizona. Yeah, it's close to Las Vegas, so there's some racketeering going on there. There is a mob presence. There is also more of an East Coast presence of guys leaving Arizona or leaving New York and the East Coast for Arizona, kind of like Florida. So, in fact, a lot of the cops who start investigating the Devil Dogs are from the East Coast originally.
Interesting.
But all that's to say, Dennis Wagner gets a tip. There's a company called Marathon Development in Phoenix. Marathon Development shares a name with, I think, Marathon Construction or Marathon Concrete back in New York, which was one of Gravano's companies.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
I would change the name, personally. He gets a tip that it is being run by Sammy Gravano. So he goes to the office, rings this little bell at the front counter, and out walks Sammy Gravano. And
Sammy Moran, right?
Jimmy Moran.
Jimmy. Sorry. Yeah. Jimmy.
Let's not mix our names here.
So sorry.
You better be sorry.
Sammy, Jimmy, huge difference here. Why don't they give them like an insanely different name?
So, but no, Sammy Gravano walks out and says, "What the fuck do you want?"
Just like that.
And Wagner, I mean, there's no denying it. This is Gravano, right? This leads to a July 18th, 1999 front page story. Mobster reveals new life. Sammy the Bull living fearlessly in Valley. And it's a great story because he convinces... Now, Gravano at this point has written a memoir, like I said, or really had ghostwritten a memoir. He has a publicist. He's been on Diane Sawyer. He has not been keeping a low profile.
No. It's almost saying, kill me, kill me.
Well, and he says in the interview, like, yeah, I could lay low and, you know, Montana for 20 years, or I could live here for 5 years and get killed. I'd rather live here. That's what he says.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of awesome.
I get the logic.
Yeah.
Right? But he opens up to Wagner. Wagner says, I want to interview you.
Oh, God.
And here's the thing with Gravano. Again, everyone has this tough guy enforcer image of him, whereas I see him as devious, attention-seeking, sneaky, duplicitous, all like no good qualities, you know, other than a certain regard with his family. And Wagner notices something really funny. Gravano, this is in the article, talks indignantly about the treachery of others. When told it seems curious for a man who murdered 18 or 19 people to complain of others' deceit, he interrupts to clarify, it was 19. So again, like you're saying, right? He takes a lot of pride in the number of murders.
It's a journalist's dream because they're just kind of, they don't even know. They're so easy to trigger.
Yeah. And that's it, right? He's talking for 2.5 hours to him with his publicist in the room.
It's insane.
It's like, what are you,
Why are you even why talk to them?
Well, it's the same reason. It's the same reason that Sammy Gravano has developed a connection with Mike Papa. That Devil Dogs leader.
The Devil Dogs. Okay. So if you remember correctly, we discussed how the Devil Dogs were throwing around their connections to Sammy.
That's right.
And everyone was like, you're full of shit. But it turns out possibly not.
It is, in fact, the truth. The cops who are investigating Mike Papa because he's so out in the open, not sneaky, not good at avoiding detection, and so thuggish, they notice, first of all, his cell phone is registered with Marathon Development. He is listed as an employee of Marathon Development.
Oh my God.
This is Sammy Gravano's construction firm, which mostly does in-ground pool installations. A big business in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
He also, in the one account in the Nat Geo documentary, walked into the restaurant the Gravano family owns in Phoenix, throws some money on the table, and seduces, so to speak, Gerard Gravano.
Who is the son?
The son and the chef at the restaurant, and a fucking idiot.
A chef? Is he a good chef?
I can't imagine he is. But they gave him a job there. The mom bought the place to have something for them, and the sister, Karen Gravano, is pretty smart. I kind of like her. But Gerard's a fucking dope. Okay. And Mike,
they're like, we can only trust you to make meatballs.
Yeah. You go do the meatballs.
There. Shut up.
Everyone else will handle everything else. But
Mike can't even install a pool.
Mike Papa sees an opportunity here. Because it's unclear, incidentally, does he make this approach before the newspaper article or after? Because Sammy's going to admit in the newspaper article, maybe 300 people knew I was living in Phoenix, which is a lot to me.
300 people? I don't even know 300 people.
I don't know 300 people either. No, 300 people don't know me,
Where are you getting that number, Sammy?
I mean, it's probably a good estimate. Everyone in fucking Phoenix seemed to know he was there. And one of them seems to be Mike Papa. Mike Papa makes the approach. He says to Gerard, let's go out and party and let's sell some ecstasy together, right? And he's doing that, why? He's not doing it.
Who could resist?
I mean, certainly not Gerard,
It's meatballs, ecstasy.
I mean, I would pick meatballs, actually, but that's just me. So this is the incredible thing that happens, right? So Mike Papa is kind of Gravanoing here, right?
Well, something that's interesting is we see how on the East Coast, there's, you have to be Italian to get, I don't know what Mike Papa's ethnicity is.
He is Italian.
He is Italian. Yeah. Okay. But does that seem to matter? I mean, it seems like in this new Western frontier, there's an English guy on the scene. There's a lot of new players, which is kind of exciting.
It's a whole new ball game. But Mike Papa is East Coast enough to know if I'm able to invoke the name of Gravano in my business, it's going to be a huge competitive advantage.
Yep.
Right?
That's a really good point.
And this is why he doesn't want Gerard.
He doesn't give a shit about Gerard.
He wants the dad.
Yeah.
But here's the secret. Sammy wants Papa.
Ooh. Again. Just kiss.
Again, because here's what he loves.
He wants it.
He wants it. He wants the devil dogs. Here's why. He doesn't have a mob anymore.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
It's fucking depressing as fuck.
They can't resist it. Give it up.
Yeah.
Give it up, man. They can't.
Instead, what we have is the biggest rat in mafia history sitting in his wife's restaurant, regaling these ASU students with stories of being a mob boss.
Oh my God.
Right?
It's so sad.
And over time, in some capacity or another, it evolves into, well, maybe Sammy could front the money for the ecstasy buys,
Of course.
and then take the profit margin.
Now, what's going on with Atwood, our British guy?
He's out of the fucking, he's dipping his head in candle wax. He's on GHB to the fucking max.
Okay, so the devil dogs have now taken over.
Fucking Atwood and all his guys are melting down.
Okay.
And it's not that he's totally out of business, but these guys are taking more and more share. Does that make sense?
And they're doing it with the help of Sammy.
They are. And this is, the police are noticing this and paying a lot of attention to this, right? They just cannot believe that Gravano's involved with this at all, but they need firm evidence to connect him to because maybe he just knows the guys and they're using his name. They need firm evidence.
Right, exactly. We don't actually know if it's true.
We don't know if it's true, right? They are moving a lot of weight of ecstasy pills, right? And these guys, they don't have the quality that Atwood's connections had, right? But an important point to mention before we get into what happens, what culminates with that police investigation. These, of course, are not the only people paying attention to Gravano in Phoenix.
We gotta guess.
Because...
You know who else is reading the column?
Tell me.
Gotti's people.
John Gotti is in prison in Marion, Illinois, Supermax.
Oh.
And incidentally, having a bad time in prison. He gets beaten by a black inmate.
Mm-hmm.
Gotti goes to the Aryan Brotherhood, the white supremacist prison gang, pays them to kill this other black prisoner, and they pocket the money and don't do anything.
Oh.
Humiliation on top of...
he is... And he is like, you know who I'm going to get back?
He's got to take out his anger on someone.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes it known to his brother, handle this, kill this guy.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who put me here. 2 Gambino mobsters are dispatched to Arizona, these 2 real slobs, and they start trailing Gravano. And then a funny thing happens. The cops in Phoenix who are trailing Gravano, trying to find a connection to Papa, the ecstasy, they tell this in the documentary. It's actually really funny. They say, these guys in this Mercury were following him around too. We thought they were other cops.
Oh my God. Like the surveiller being surveilled.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
They're picking up a mob hit team also shadowing Gravano. And they're like, who the fuck are these guys?
And it's another perfect metaphor. It's like they're the same. The cops, the mobsters. What's the difference?
So the question is, who's going to get to them first?
It's so good.
Okay. The moment of decision. Y2K has come and gone.
The world didn't end.
Thank God. I can go on pets.com still.
Wouldn't it have been great if it did end then?
It would have been so much better than what we have now.
I know.
Yeah. But here we are, trapped in hell. Yeah. Instead, 2000, we ring in the new year. Brittany with a snake or whatever. Remember that?
That was, do I remember that? It's my entire personality.
Moment of decision comes in the year of 2000. Pre-dawn, Sammy Gravano's apartment. Door kicked in. He's crawling on the floor for the gun. It's finally happening.
Who is it? They
finally tracked him down. Police, put your hands.
We got it. We see it. We can see it.
Right. Sammy is arrested, as are dozens of other members of this ecstasy trap.
Hold on. So he's lying there. He's thinking, who is it? Am I about to get shot or arrested?
That's what he thought.
And the cops actually got to him first.
Cops got to him first. Probably saved his life. There's not been that I'm aware of. There's one that I can think of a rat who fled elsewhere and then was killed later. Just because, listen, usually at that point, you got other shit going on.
Yeah.
You don't have time to settle old scores like that.
That's interesting.
Right? John Gotti's in prison. He's a little busy,
Yeah. It seems like his star is kind of waned, no?
Definitely. Prison will do that.
Yeah.
So, Gravano is arrested And
what's the charge?
The charge is for trafficking ecstasy. They intercepted a phone call, which seems pretty clear-cut, of Gravano financing the drug buys. It's a call with his son, Gerard. They use code on the phone, but not very good code.
I love that he ends up kind of going in a similar way than the guy he fucked over, Gotti, where he's being surveilled and he's not doing a very good job of being secretive.
It's like the same thing over and over again. And
that is kind of a justice in a way.
Oh, if you thought that was poetic justice.
Okay, let's get into it.
What's the next shoe to fall? The next shoe to fall is the star witness against him is going to be Mike Papa.
No.
The rat has been ratted out by a younger rat.
How is this not your favorite story? It's delicious.
It is. This is like our fast food episode.
This is so good.
You know? This is our Whataburger, our Sbarro episode. You know? And yeah, I mean, this fucking sucks for Sammy. And like, there's a great description for one of the cops of like, he's brought in and he asks finally like, all right, what's the charge? You know, and it's
because it could be probably a million.
It could be a bunch of things, right? And they say ecstasy, and he goes,
like fuck.
That's the stupidest one it could have been, you know? And so he does something I sort of, despite myself, kind of find admirable, which is he jumps on the grenade for his own family and takes 20 years in prison.
And basically says like, oh, Gerard didn't do anything. It was all me.
It's to get some consideration for Gerard, who was facing a similar amount of time and gets 9 years. His daughter and wife, who had some involvement in the ring, I think got probation.
Okay.
So they don't go to prison at all.
So maybe there is honor among thieves in some way.
I don't know how to say, there is something I kind of like about him.
Here's the thing. People are complicated, right?
I mean, they're
not all one thing.
He's such a fucking devious, horrible scumbag. And yet, like, he also reminds me of people I knew in New York in a way. Like, it's just so complicated.
It is.
There's none so queer as folk, as the English say, you know?
Okay, I would.
Yeah, that's something he would say.
Yeah.
But he goes into prison, does his time, I think does the full 19 or 20. But when he comes out, he's going to find he's entering a world in which being the most rotten, low-down sack of shit you can imagine.
So what I love is he only got out then in like 2020.
I'd have to check the exact year. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we're talking around there.
Okay, not that long ago.
So now a public hungry for mob stories, right? And
the true crime girlies are popping off.
Sammy graduates to influencer status.
Right.
This is the thing though, like I feel everything we try to do with this podcast is the opposite of Sammy the Bull Gravano. Now, instead of recounting his tales to Mike Papa and this table of people, it's the internet. And there's something really fucked up and sick about that.
Yeah, and it's sort of a perfect metaphor for the internet in that it actually doesn't matter if what he's saying is true. No. It's all about the content.
It's this male wish fulfillment that he's offering, right?
That's so insane. Can you imagine someone killed your family member and then you see them profiting off of trying a pumpkin spice latte?
That is a real video you can look up. Not even a very good video. I watched it this morning.
Step it up. Your cap cut is not cutting it.
No, Sammy Gravano sips the pumpkin spice latte and goes, oh, this is pumpkin? Like that. It's like, yeah. Do we know what fucking video we're shooting here, Sammy?
That's the concept, Sammy.
You know what? Sammy the Bull Gravano, I challenge you to produce better content than this podcast and leave this in because this won't lead to any problems. So on that note, I guess we'll close it having issued a challenge to the murderer of 19 people.
Yeah, come at us. We're ready.
Don't actually do that. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.